Hey, welcome back to the channel. I am Cesar Torres, the founder and designer of LED Queens Fitness Apparel. You may not know this, but I'm a journalist by history. That's actually what I did for 25 years professionally. And even though LED Queens is all about fitness and all this really cool gear that's very queer, I actually like to talk to people like a journalist. And I've got here in the virtual studio of YouTube Steven Crespo. He is an LED fan. That's what we call customers who initially came into the experience of LED Queens. And I want to give you a really warm welcome. Hi, Steven.
Hi, Sasad. How are you?
I'm fabulous. I'm fabulous. I can actually say that. You know, things have been rough for everybody. But just in the last week, things have gotten a little brighter. So I'm glad to see you here because you're one of the reasons things get brighter, because sharing these stories of our queer community that's focused on fitness has been really, really positive for me, and I hope it is for everyone else. We always start at the beginning. Since I have written books about queer superheroes, the origin story is really important. I would love to hear a little bit about what is your life like, but really, what got you this far? I mean, the focal point is fitness, but what got you on that quest for fitness? I've seen your Instagram. You've made an amazing transformation, but in your own words, like, what are you all about?
All my life, since I was a kid, I've had hormone imbalances. I'm short. I'm only 5 feet tall, so I had a growth hormone deficiency as well as like adrenaline. So all my life, I was put on cortisone, and you know that oral cortisone blows you
Yes, it
up,
does.
weight, tons of issues. So I spent my entire life swinging weight, you know, and most of my life was always on the heavier side. You know, I wore a lot of husky size pants
I
growing
did
up.
too. I was a
Um,
fat kid when I was a
so,
kid. Yeah, I did too.
so once I was never into fitness. I was since I was so short. Never was picked for sports. You know, volleyball, basketball, or any of this stuff because I was very short. Um, Although I've always had that competitive nature. I did get into tennis for a while because you don't need much height for that. Um, but I started kind of lifting when I was in grad school. When I left Puerto Rico and came to the States, on and off with friends, you know. But I was never like I'm keeping a diet plan or I didn't have a goal. I just went to the gym. Then I kind of kept it up, but 2014, of course, the weight swings. 2014, I bought my new house, and it's a very old house, 250 years old. So I started working, commuting for work. It kind of all the training I was doing just went on the side, and I gained all this weight, and it was at the heaviest that I was. I got 160 pounds for a little 5 foot guy. 2016, 2 years later, after I seen a picture from a vacation my brother took from the side. I'm like, I can't. I'm like, I saw myself, and although I was part of the bear community and the whole thing, but I got to a point in which wasn't healthy for me. I was hitting that obese mark for my height. So, I started getting back to the gym, and then I spoke to the trainers there. After a few months, I committed. I signed up with a trainer, and really good trainer. He gave me a meal plan, and then I just committed to it. I went full force. It was like my meal plan, my training, and like within 8, 9 months, um, my trainer, he's saying, you have perfect symmetry, to compete. And I'm like, I was what, 42, 43 years old. I'm like, come on, I'm too old for this. And he's like, don't trust me. You can win. You can do this, you know. So he kind of convinced me. And so we started training. And, from there, I did my first men's physique competition. And, from men's physique, I've gone into classic now in bodybuilding. And so that's my journey.
We just put your photo up, and we have some photos that are coming later of you in the LED Queens gear. But I actually found one of your bodybuilding photos from your Instagram, and
Okay.
so that people watching the stream can see that, and
Mm-hmm.
that's incredible. You seem very comfortable talking about age, and so am I. And I think that the fact that you entered
Mm-hmm.
this area of your life in your 40s is really unique. I think a lot of people assume that once a certain decade arrives, that like, oh, you just can't do it. You know, the body's going
Yeah.
to do what it's going to do. But you kind of harnessed it, and you have a science background. Talk a little bit about your job and maybe how that helped you implement strategies for your own physical transformation. Because you seem also, this is the first time I'm talking to you in person, but you seem like a person who's very unafraid of new things. That's the sense I get. You're
Yeah.
not afraid of challenges. So can you unpack
Yeah.
how all of that came maybe partially from that science background?
Well, yeah, having that science background, I've known a lot of biology, physiology, metabolism, and it was weird because even though I knew all this stuff, I kind of didn't, throughout my years, I really didn't apply it to myself, you know, for my own physical needs. So during that process of me, doing my transformation, he said, "Hey, why don't you become a trainer as well?" Um, so, because I love teaching, I love science and I love teaching and biology. So I'm like, well, it's not teaching, but I can help someone. Um, and with my biology background in genetics, which is the work that I do, disorders. So I'm like, you know what? I think it would be good for me having that, expertise in biology, and probably help other people, and that's what I've done. I've become a trainer. I've specialized in fitness nutrition, of course, because I gained a lot of knowledge and I applied my biology to that. And then for seniors, those are my two specialties.
Oh wow. Yeah.
They're a group that they're kind of like left behind, and there's I want to be able to help them. So because they have special needs that are a lot of trainers don't know how to deal with a person who's older, who has arthritis, who has high blood pressure and stuff like that. So it kind of like I took my genetics and biology background and kind of incorporated it. And of course, nutrition, that's where it really, really came into play, that it helped me like put everything together in the nutrition aspect more than anything.
This is an area that I think a lot of other live streams or podcasts can't really touch because when you listen to a lot of fitness content, it does skew a little bit, white, cisgendered, straight. But here, we have a common ground, which is we're both Latinos,
Hmm.
and food, the culture of food is so important for us.
Yeah.
And you just talked about some things that are basically really relevant for culturally for us. It's
Hmm.
taking care of our elders and not looking down at them, but actually kind of like saying like we really
Hmm.
respect you. So it's
Yeah.
taking care of them, but also you understand the role that food can play for us as a culture. And so, can you talk a little bit about the challenges that you had personally, but then also how you maybe develop that into techniques to work with your clients later on,
Hmm. Yeah.
as a person of color, a person who can kind of relate to this. Because for me, I've found balance over time. But there used to be a time when going to family parties with lots of food, lots of alcohol, lots of everything, I couldn't manage my weight there were other reasons too, but I had to figure out a balance for me. And I'd love to hear your story because I can already feel it resonates.
Yeah. Um, well, see, in Puerto Rico, at least, I mean, I'm Puerto Rican and I'm Italian. So here I have two sides that it's like so carb driven,
Oh yeah,
so fat driven cultures, you
portion
know.
driven.
So, and the portion,
Yeah.
So, you know, for in Puerto Rico, people truly don't eat vegetables. And that's who you will see a plate of Puerto Rican food, traditional food, and it's triple starch. It's the rice and it's the
Right.
beans, and then there's maduros, and
Uh
then
huh.
they'll put something else, and then that big chunk of fatty bread in, you know. And then there's no green or anything to be found. Um, we add a little bit more vegetables in my household. I guess it's from my Italian side. My mother, she would always, but not. It wasn't very big on my Italian side. It's all the pasta, and I would get a lot of clients who would say, "Oh, I'm Italian, but I love to eat pasta." Or I've had Cuban clients, "Oh my God, but my Cuban food." I'm like, you know what? It's There's traditional ways to make these foods. There's alternate ways you can make them, which will make them a little healthier for you to achieve the goals. Um, for example, I'll put an example of rice, beans, and let's say a meat, right? So they'll say, oh, but I love rice. I'm like, you know what? So this is the difference between white rice and whole wheat, whole grain rice. There's you have your high blood sugar. I mean, your high blood sugar. You have the weight issues. How about we transform that white into brown rice? You're still gonna be eating your rice, but it's so like lower glycemic index. It's going to
More
be
fiber.
metabolized a little slower. You're going to get the fiber. It's going to be healthier for you. You still can eat your rice. Now, you don't have to have 2 cups. And I would talk to them. You don't have to have 2 cups of rice. 1 cup of rice for this meal, but then we're going to incorporate the green vegetable. You can season it with your seasonings that you would like. You know, I would talk to them of how to modify their beans. The way we make beans. That we like usually to put pork.
Mm-hmm.
Tocino or all
Mm-hmm.
these. I'm like, well, you know what? How about we take that element out? Maybe get a cube ham, to give if you need that little meat flavor. But now we're taking that fat, that extra fat off for that meal. If you like to have pork chops, well, how about you buy the trimmed one? Trim it. You're reducing the food, so it's working with for me, that's how I learned how to do it, and that's how I do it with the clients. My Italian one's the same thing. Oh, but I love pasta. I'm like, you know what? There's high protein pastas out in the market. Said it tastes really good. You're not gonna, because a lot of people don't want the whole wheat because it's the cardboard taste, the whole deal. I said, well, there's a protein variety there. You get a little bit more protein, a little less processed, simple carbs. It's a little healthier for you. And then I've had to teach them about portions. I said, I want you to take 2 ounces dry, boil it, and see what the portion is when it's cooked. And but that sounds so little. But then they've told me when they see it cooked, they see that's a normal portion. I'm like, that is what a normal portion you should eat, not a whole plate, a whole bowl. So it's a lot of teaching people that they can eat this stuff, but just modify it a little bit. If you're making your rice usually with salt pork, that's a very traditional way for us to do it. Big and fatty. I said use olive oil instead. Now we're cutting on the bad fats, getting good fats in. So again, I applied what I learned, and that's what that plus courses. It's what I help my clients with.
Well, and you're knowledge based. You're a person you like to read.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I
yeah.
love to read.
So for you, as because your transformation, it was also very fast. I mean, you once you started referencing that your story starts at around 2014, that's relevant because that's recently, like somewhat for some of
Yeah.
us, but it's funny, first impressions, right? Like the first time I ran into you as a customer, because I think you tagged us with, you're wearing our
Hmm.
stuff. You see the image and you cannot see the history of the person on the image.
Yeah.
And seeing those images, I was like, well, this person looks like they've been fit all their life. And then, of course, if you go back, you see that. So everybody has that story to tell, right? Even people who have had a consistent body shape. That your story is also internal. But for you, what were things that you had to remove out of your way, obstacles on your path to meet that goal? Because you actually signed up for bodybuilding competitions, and that's a big
Hmm.
step. One thing is to get in shape. Another thing is to shave your body down, oil it up, and then be judged, in front of people. Who was your support network that got you there? And then also, again, what were those obstacles, your personal habits or patterns that you had to break in order to get to that goal?
So I think it's kind of like what a lot of people the excuse. I don't have time. I don't have time to go to the gym. You know. Um, and then it was when I decided to commit, I'm like, you know what? I was spending 3 hours watching Netflix, after
Mm-hmm.
work. Because I mean, I would have a 200-mile daily commute, um, round trip. So I would just, I would be tired, but I would find myself that I'm watching TV 4 hours, 5 hours. I would go to bed late, and then I'm like, I do have time. I'm like, just need to put that focus in what I have the time. So I don't need to watch 3 hours of TV or 4 hours of TV. I could watch two and be two, but by the time I get to the gym and do my stuff, and work out. I think that was my biggest obstacle, and it wasn't a real obstacle. It was a mental obstacle, um, because I was finding that comfort in just staying there, and I'm like, oh, and you don't feel that great sometimes. You sluggish, and the excuse, I don't want to work out. I'm tired. I'm tired. But again, starting myself on that path to that first competition, it's kind of helping me, it helped me to stay on track, and I was like, I have time to watch TV. I watch a couple of times, a couple of hours,
Yeah.
and that's truly enough. Um, and in support, at my gym, I have a nice little core of friends, um, kind of our age as well, and always very encouraging, and I remember last year, an Asian gentleman who had gone to the gym since I started, and he in the bathroom. This was before shutdown. Then he's like, "I watched you since you started coming here. You've really transformed yourself." So I would get that a few times. Sometimes younger guys, I'm millennials or Gen
Sure.
Z's guys who were there, who have seen me. They don't know me, and they've come to me. Hey, dude, I can't believe what you've done to your body. So kind of that has kept motivating me at my age
What's your age
to
now?
to just 46.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm turning 46 in like a couple of months. So
Oh,
you actually look younger than that. You look a
thank you,
lot younger than 46. So wow. Yeah,
thank you,
that's awesome.
thank you. But as I said, it's a lot of support at my gym. Everybody pretty much there knows that I'm game. So it's a no brainer. Everybody's comfortable there.
That's something that we always get into in these discussions because a lot of what we do here in these podcasts and streams is community based. What's that intersection for you of your own gay identity with how you've pursued fitness for yourself? Because for a lot of people, they cancel each other out. People feel depressed or rejected by their family members, and then their health goes down the drain. And for you, it seems like you've actually merged them into a really positive place. So when did you come out, and how has improving your fitness also maybe improved your self-confidence as a gay person?
I came out actually after I left Puerto Rico. Probably I was about 25 in grad school, and it was through a medical student because I was at what's now the Rutgers Medical School. They have a gay medical student group, and that I went to one of their movie nights, and from there the Pride Center of New Jersey men's group, and that truly like helped me come out. Um, I've always, as I said, out being always heavy. I always kind of felt that rejection from most of the gay community. Short, hairy, a little heavy. Um, so I kind of always had body image issues because of that, because I felt a little bit of the rejection until I kind of met the bear community, you know, and that kind of like helped me reassure, it's okay who I am, how I look like. But again, as I said, when I got to that really heavy point, um, that's when I was like, it wasn't the image, it was the health part,
Mm-hmm.
and as I said, I already had my core of gay friends, and which I've had them on Facebook, and they saw me, and they've always, had that encouragement for me. They're like, always there cheering for me. They've come to my competitions from out of state, and so it's really, that's kind of like my core of my support. On my gay friends who have been there before my fitness transformation and now. So it's pretty much
That
has worked out okay for me.
I would say it's worked out really well. I mean, it's not just about your images. We have them on Instagram, so the Instagram images up, and today we have about 4 different ones of yours that you shared with us that we're showing.
Mhm.
But all of this to me is always about. I'm a big believer of body and mind are linked. So your body will, showcase how your mind feels and vice versa, but it's not always apparent. So a photograph of somebody who's really fit doesn't always tell the full story. But in your
Hmm.
case, it seems like you've had some very positive experiences, and then you also give them back because you have a support network where you also seem to support the, what they're doing. So that leads me to the question, for people who look at what you've done, which is you've transformed yourself, and you've also done this naturally, right? Because I believe in your
Exactly.
competitions, you're in the natural category. If
That's correct.
somebody's looking at your photos and they go, I want to do exactly what Steven did, and since you've been around the block and you know how you did it, what advice would you give to somebody like that who's sort of feeling like, how would I ever accomplish what he's done, knowing that they're probably a queer person that's watching this?
Hmm. Actually, I've had a few, of my friends who have, you know, um, I've inspired them, and they always tell me, and they'll send me pictures. They don't put it online much. They say, "Hey, look at what I'm doing. I've been down. Keep the work. You keep inspiring me." What I always, tell someone, because I've had that question, how can I do what he did? And I said, it's changing your mindset about what I said before, the time issue. You have to make time. This is, whether you're doing it for bodybuilding or for health reasons, it's you need to make it a part of your human being self, that it's something that's good for you. Just as, you know, anything else that's important in your life, go to a doctor's appointment, a dentist appointment, you have to make time for this, you know, because at the end of the day, it's more about your health than anything. So I said, if you can make some time so you can meal prep. Meal prep is critical if you whatever goal you want to do. If it's to lose weight, if it's to gain mass, if it's to be bodybuilding. I said it's always going to be the time factor. You'll need to separate time for the gym, and you'll need to separate time for meal prepping
To
and cooking.
cook, yeah.
Because that's the easiest way to fall off the wagon. If you don't have your meals ready, and then you start looking in the fridge, looking in the pantry, or going on the app and ordering from a delivery place service, and that's it. And then you fall into it, and then I don't want to cook tomorrow. I don't want to cook tomorrow, and then you fall off the wagon. So that's the first thing I always tell with my friends or clients. It's a time factor. Set yourself that this is part of you, and it's very important. Everything else, as long as you make the time, it's just going to fall right into place.
You know, Here in Illinois, where the lockdown order, shelter in place, started back in March. Back then, I just transitioned my workouts, which I went to a bodybuilding gym at Quads, and which the photos that I used to post on Instagram, it was always
Mm-hmm.
from Quads, very famous. But as soon as it started, I was like, well, I just continue. I didn't take time off. I didn't feel depressed. I felt depressed later, but I basically got some dumbbells and some bands, and I've just been working out every day here. I don't miss a day. I'm actually improving now. I'm actually getting a little bit leaner. I feel really. It's kind of weird to say. I feel adapted to how I'm doing it now, like this,
Mm-hmm.
without a gym. But for you, how has COVID-19 impacted how you work out and where you work out, and your community? I mean, the loss for me wasn't the gym per se; it was the people of that gym who are my friends. That's the thing I miss more than the equipment. I miss them. And so the question goes to you, what has it done for you? And you're a problem solver. So I know you also have worked on ways to make it positive. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, well, as I used to work as a trainer for a corporate gym, for a chain. But I left that in January, and I knew that there were a few people. As I said, I most of my clientele were the seniors. So I had gone to a store that sells equipment for $5 or less stuff, and I was surprised at the amount of gym stuff that they had. The kettlebells and weights and bands and mats and steppers. So I bought, two of each of these items, right? And I started training them. Little did I know that suddenly, boom, gyms were closed. And the only thing I had for myself, it was a pair of 20-pound dumbbells and some bands. Um, and here, luckily, I had these other things, sliders, gliders, other things that I had bought for other people. And that kind of like helped me jumpstart.
Cool.
And then with bands, I put hooks on my front porch. It's a rustic porch. We had a decent winter here. Um, So I was able to do a lot of my workouts outside, just using those bands on eye hooks and stuff like that. Um, Over time, as market, a few little things started coming up on marketplace. Someone selling some plates here or a bar there, so I kind of picked up a few things. Which I don't have a bench or anything, but at least it helped me kind of maintain. I was in, and luckily I actually lost half a pound. So all these 2.5 months, even with the limited amount of stuff that I have, a bicycle for going cardio, outdoor, for weather permitting, it kind of helped me you know, stay as maintained as I can. And for the gym, as for you, it's more the people, what
It's the
I miss.
people. Yeah.
Because I've always worked from home. I really don't go out much. Where I live here, there's not much to do around year round. Um, so it was more of that. That was my social time,
Yep. That's
because I
it.
don't go to bars much. I don't party much or any. And that was like I miss that, like being with the people that I interacted with. So it was more that kind of like I miss having people around.
Yeah, I totally hear that. And the good thing is, just like in science, we know that no state is permanent. Things are constantly in flux.
Hmm.
But also in
Yep.
Buddhist philosophy, every state is also temporary. Things move on. The way that we're living now, this frustration that we cannot get together with friends, whether it's the disco or the gym or both,
Hmm.
that'll change. That'll change. It
Yep.
doesn't mean like that we'll have the best luck, but it will change for everybody at some point, and I think it'll go to a better place. Uh, I'm really super curious for you because you have competed so much, and that's been a lot of the focus of this conversation. Do you plan on competing again down the road? Like, what are your like goals? Let's assume we make progress through COVID, but what are your
Hmm.
next goals? What do you have your sights on?
So since I had been competing for 3 years in a row, and every time you prep for a competition, you lose muscle mass. That's part of the game when you cut.
Especially
So
natural.
exactly. So in my last competitions, as I said, I've always been a little wider, like so they want to see, you know, big lats, big mean V shape. Um, so my goal was 2020, just grow, put on as much mess, as I could, and then enter the season in for 2021, compete again. So hopefully, so these are a few months setback from that games process. Um, but as soon as we can get back in, I'll try to hit it as safely and as best as I can again. But yeah, my goal is to once again in 2021 get into my competitions. As I said, it keeps me goal driven. Like I have a goal, right? I want to do a competition next fall, so I'm going to work hard for next fall.
I love that, and I think we'll touch on that again. A lot of the people that are appearing in these streams and podcasts, like we're going to bring you back in the future to see how things are going, like with those
Hmm.
goals or whatever.
I'd love to.
That'd be
Yeah.
great. This is a question that isn't just about LED queens because I designed this stuff, but I am curious because the queerness and the fashion of what I do is what makes me me. Like my brand shows like stuff that I like, which is wearing, but also designing all this like lycra stuff for the gym. How like what role does it play for you? Because you wear it really well, and you've chosen a lot of our products, to show on your
Okay.
Instagram. But why leggings and tights and all that? Because it's still not always welcomed by most people. Some people go, "Oh my God, here's another guy wearing tights." So how do you deal with
Hmm.
that? And what does it do for you in terms of your training or
Yeah.
motivation?
I've always, again, being of our age, we've saw growing up a lot of, you know, men in the 80s
80s and
wearing,
90s, yeah.
and 90s, yeah, wearing tights for training, for bodybuilding and competitions. So I've always liked the look. I've always liked tights. Actually, before I bought LED Queens, I had ordered from one of these online big companies, just a couple of long length, tights to wear. um, and the material was it was just like my legs were feel so compressed, and
Right.
it didn't give it didn't, and I bought these, and I'm like, oh man, you know, these are really awful. And then I I think in one of the 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 tags that I follow on men's on tights or the spandex, whatever, someone had posted your stuff, and then so I that's when I went and I saw. I'm like, this is kind of cool. You know, I kind of like the colors and stuff. And I live in probably one of the most conservative parts of New Jersey, South
Mm.
Jersey. You know, um, super conservative. Um, but as I said, people in my gym know me already, and I've pretty much been outed, not necessarily by me, but one of the fellow trainers who felt comfortable with me, and he because he knew I was open, he would tell her, "Oh, Steven's gay. Oh, Steven's gay."
Of
You know,
course.
so suddenly I was, so it was a little. And when I saw the first pattern, I went a little conservative. My first orders, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna order. I'm like, I'm just gonna be myself. I'm like, I'm a bodybuilder. You know, this was a thing back then.
Yep.
Why can't I do it now?
Yep.
Um, so of course, that first day I walked into the gym, I could see the eyes. You know, all the eyes. You know, like because it was a little, you know, my tights and stuff. And then you know they kind of got used to it, and I was starting getting a little bit more. I'm Latino. I'm colorful. You know,
Me
so
too.
I love color and pattern.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
I started getting a little more, and they kind of like got used to it. I think the most shocking was when I started using the shorts for
Really?
leg day. For leg day, you know, because they don't see that much leg at the gym from a
Of
man.
course, of
You know,
course. Yeah.
but your shorts. I mean, I'm short, but they fall nicely where I would want them to fall, and they're really comfortable for squatting or anything that it's leg day. The shorts. Um, there's nothing worse than for me, since I'm short. You know, all my shorts are fall below the knee. Doing a squat, and suddenly your shorts get stuck on your knee doing a squat, and you know you feel it pulling back. So and as I said, for them it was like, oh, that's a little bit more. You could see in the faces that's a little more skin that we're used to seeing here, but they're used to it now. You know, they know, and then I'll wear a funny shirt, and people, oh my god, you wear like you like the coolest, you know, shirts. You never disappoint. So it makes me happy, makes me feel comfortable because they're really comfortable. And then it just I could see a lot of people like they like it. So
Well, that essence, since we happen to be about the same age, that is basically one of the things I did in creating the brand. You know, they originally started from my books. The original source material for the LED Queens was the 13 Secret Cities and How to Kill Superheroes because the designs were named after those characters and they had some of the patterns, like the actual drawings of those characters. And it's evolved over time. Now it's almost like its own thing. But one of the things that really stuck in my memory was the same thing, 80s and 90s, but particularly the 80s. On television, ESPN used to do more bodybuilding shows on ESPN. And then certainly the pro level of bodybuilding, like we're talking, all the famous people, Bob Paris,
mm-hmm,
everybody, they
mm-hmm,
all wore it. And, for us kids that grew up watching that, it affirmed who we were as gay and queer people. But here's the
mm-hmm,
thing, the environment, like what we hear now from those people who are older who were there, they're like, it was really homophobic. It was terrible. Like gay people were thrown off
mm-hmm.
to the side. And if you came out of the closet, you lost your sponsorships. It was terrible. So in a way, it is kind of slightly political, but it came from a place of art for me. I'm like, let's bring those back from the past, those stripes and all that stuff, bring it into the present, because now the people that are wearing them, if they are, competing in bodybuilding, people such as yourself or anybody else who might
Mm-hmm.
get it, or just casual people, it's like now we're reclaiming that because it was already pretty queer and gay, like even back then. Or just,
Mm-hmm.
you could even make the argument it was male presenting, masculine, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm like, let's just like re-embrace it in a world where now we are more visible, more out, more ourselves. And it makes me really happy when I hear stories like that because I saw the same things you did when we were a kid on TV and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And I just remember ESPN all the time. Like throughout the week, they would have bodybuilding shows or a World's Strongest Man, and they don't do as much of
Yeah,
that anymore.
yeah,
I guess now it's gone to the
yeah,
YouTube channels.
yeah, probably.
Yeah, so that's
But
yeah.
yeah, I as I said, I it brings that little extra life into the gym, you know.
Well, you seem to be full of a lot of life. Here's the last piece that we have talked about so far with other guests.
Hmm.
Without going into too many details, unless you like to, one is how are you eating presently? Again, with COVID, like what does your nutrition look like? And then your two power songs. What are the two songs on your current playlist when you're working out now at home or doing your training? When you hear those songs, you're just like, I'm gonna nail this workout. So that's how we wrap up.
Well, so I've pretty much maintained my same level of. I've cut a little bit of my calories, just because I've been in bulking period, but now
Mm-hmm.
not having the full gym, it would just be, you know, throw me way off. So I've cut some calories, um, but I'm pretty much eating the same meals, you know, that I would previously. With my eggs in the morning and my toast, and then my fish or my chicken. So I keep the same structure, but I'm, I'll eat. I Matt previous podcast. I eat my chicken, my cakes or my cinnabons,
Uh
or I'll
huh.
have my cocktails with my glass of wine. I'm not afraid of it. You know, whether now or before, I just know how to balance it out with the workouts that I need to do. If it's a day in which if it's raining, like today, it's super windy and biking was not an option. I mean, 30 mile an hour and it's 53 degrees, so it'll feel like 40 degrees out there. So today I'm a little, I'd be careful of how I eat. So I'm not gonna have my little desserts or my little sweet cocktails. If I'm work to have it. So I've been doing pretty well. Panic set in every time we run out of chicken at the supermarket,
Mm-hmm. I
or
can
all the meat.
relate. Uh huh.
That was it was truly like panic. I mean, there was not one piece of chicken or turkey or anything. Instead, they put hams in that. I'm like, I am not eating salty ham. So, so I was like, okay, let me start incorporating other little things, just, but otherwise, I have to say that my nutrition has stayed pretty much on point. Um, in terms of music, I don't have two particular songs, but I can say that my go-to music will be house and trance music.
Oh,
I mean,
nice.
there's so many great mixes out there that um that that's my workout music. I get into the zone. I will say I'll put some Daddy Yankee, Bad Bunny. They'll have some rap songs there that are some remixes that are really good, or Pitbull.
Pitbull, sure.
Some of the songs, but trance and house, that just I fly
You're
through my
there.
workout with them. They're there, yeah. I don't I wouldn't I couldn't pick two songs.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well, that's noted because this goes down in history. That those are your genres, right? And just to
Yeah.
speak real quickly to what you just went through, that panic, because people watching this or listening, you'll probably laugh. Hopefully, for me, I was very keen on coronavirus when the outbreak started back in January. I remember the day. I remember exactly what I was doing when I saw some news reports that there was this outbreak in Wuhan. And even back then, I'm not a prepper. I'm not like a paranoid person like that. I just love science, and I come from an academic background, so I'm like, okay. I was like, well, what if it does get kind of like rougher to get groceries? I thought, well, it's not going to be like having to kill a person for like a bag of, biscuits or whatever. But I did think about protein and that this could happen. So it was like the second week of February around Valentine's Day. Because I'm crazy. I ordered, there's the 5 pound tub of egg white powder from Now Nutrition that you can get.
Yeah.
I bought like 3 of those, and then I bought like 4 tubs of my regular protein powder that I get, and those are great. I'm still going to consume them, but the thing about powdered egg whites in those tubs, they taste disgusting. I mean, they're not good, but they're good for you. And so now I'm like working down through all that egg white because I'm not, I'm going to consume it. But it was the same thing. And there have been shortages here in Chicago at the grocery stores when you order, or if you go yourself to the store. There's a two item limit for meat products, and chicken breasts do get sold out quite a bit. So I've had to substitute a little bit. So now I'm doing even more egg whites, but I get liquid or
Hmm.
more fish. So for anybody listening, I'm not an expert at all. Steven is, but I just basically kept also my same calories. I just substituted some items and used new spices and techniques to just make it interesting. But in terms of like my routine, nothing's changed. I'm still training 6 days a week. I
Same here.
was just trying to maintain for like a long time, but this past 2 weeks, I finally realized I'm like, well, now that I have found a way to maintain while I'm here, I didn't gain or lose any weight. I'm like, well, maybe what I could do is very gradually lose a little bit of body fat while I'm still doing these workouts 6 days a week. And now I
Hmm.
feel comfortable enough to do that. I can like hit that. But for anybody watching this, if you feel like this is like so challenging, you're eating cookies or whatever, you know how to reach Steven. He can certainly help you out.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
and if you ever message us, we'll point you to the right people to do that. So
Yeah.
that's super cool. Steven, it's been amazing to have you here. Everybody listening and watching, these are live streams, but then we cut these into the podcast that goes into the Cesar Torres podcast, which has my whole life. That podcast has LED fans, and it shows a little bit about my business, my business life, how I put together my businesses to the extent of success that I've had, because I'm not like, hugely successful, but I unpack that. And then I also should take you into my creative process. I do talk about how I write my books and do my photography and even design LED Queens. So you can find the podcast, of course, on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, and even Spotify. Steven, is there anything you'd like for the viewers and listeners to walk away with in terms of like just feeling motivated through this time? That's how I would like to wrap up.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure being
Thank
here.
you. Thank
As I
you.
said, I'm a fan for life now. I can just say we're gonna have good days and we're gonna have bad days. Just if there's a day in which you're like, "Ugh, I can't do it, I don't want to do it, I don't have motivation," it's okay. Take the day. You know, your world is not gonna fall apart because the one day you're having a rough day. I've had them. It's
We all
just
do.
part of it.
Yeah.
You know, like for me, it's stressful when we have 3 days consecutive rain and I can't get on my bike and I can't do my cardio. So I'll do some hit training. So learn how to evolve. Some we need to open our minds and not close ourselves in. And it's okay to grieve. It's okay if you're frustrated. Open the window, just yell. You know, we're I've done it. Trust
Sweet.
me.
I'm gonna do
I
that. I'm
was
gonna
on,
take you up on that. I need that shit.
I live in the woods here. The birds have heard me. It's just take it one day by one day. The gyms are gonna open throughout. Just do it safely. As I'm a scientist. I'm a microbiologist. I just ask you. Take your precautions. Be mindful of what you touch. Wash your hands. Comply. Cover your face for now. Even if someone else is not, at least you're sort of protecting yourself. Because we want the best for everyone. We don't. It's not fun and work out like that, but we need to do it for now. Because if we don't do it, then we're not going to be healthy to keep working out and wearing those pretty tights.
There you go. You've said it. Those are golden words. We're gonna wrap up, you guys. So thank you once again. This is the LED Queens YouTube channel. You'll find this on the Cesar Torres podcast. And as usual, keep everything really queer. That's what we are all about. So keep it queer. Thank you so much, Steven.
Thank you.